Okay, so raise your hand if you would risk it all for Mr. Darcy. You too? Okay, then you're on the right channel. Hello, welcome to my video. If you're from my Instagram, I love you. If you're not from my Instagram, I love you all the same. So today I'm gonna be rating and reviewing books that the TikTok and Instagram algorithms have recommended to me. Now today's genre is mostly gonna be romance / smut because basically that's all that I've been reading recently. But if you want me to review some other genres, let me know. Or if you want me to review a book that I still haven't of the same genre, then please comment down below which one I should do. And before we begin, I should also let you know that I'm gonna be reviewing these books without giving away any major spoilers in case you want to read any of them. I am still going to be talking a little bit about what happens in the book, the general theme, but no major spoilers. And I'm going to be rating them all in 2 scales. So overall, how I like the book in general on a scale from 1 to 5 stars, 1 being trash, absolute garbage, would never read again, and 5 being as soon as I finish this book, I'm picking it back up again. So the bar is very high, and I'm also going to be rating the spiciness, the smuttiness of each book on a scale from 1 chili pepper to 5 chili peppers because you're smart, you get it. Now with that being said, let's begin. So let's start with the Twisted series. So the tropes in these books go as follows: brother's best friend, princess and bodyguard, enemies to lovers, and fake dating. So one thing I immediately noticed and liked about these books is the fact that they're not just their stereotypical tropes. So for example, book number 1, brother's best friend, I thought that's all that the book had to offer. But then when I started reading it, I discovered that there is a dark layer to it. There are some dark elements in there and some dark tropes, which I definitely did not expect, but I did appreciate. So I really liked that, and all the other books are like that as well. They're sort of like an onion, you gotta peel back the layers. Another thing I like about these books is that even though they're about 4 couples who are all in each other's lives, they're complete standalones. So for example, you don't have to read book number 1 to understand and enjoy book number 2, and even though the couple from book number 1 does appear in book number 2, you don't get the feeling that you need to know their whole history for it to make sense for the storyline for book number 2. You do get a small synopsis of where they're at in their relationship currently, but not the whole thing, if that makes sense. So also me, who I did read book number 1, I wasn't reading book number 2 and thinking to myself, now why did I spend all of this time reading book number 1 if all of their history is thrown out in book number 2? Because that certainly wasn't the case. So I did enjoy reading both books and all 4 books. Now, if you are thinking about reading any one of these, my personal favorite is book number 2, Twisted Games, and all I'm gonna say about it, without saying too much about it, is that that initial dresser scene, chokehold. It was over, it had me in a chokehold. And then the library scene, I don't know nothing. I'm not trying to know anything because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but if you know, you know. If you're thinking about reading any of these, I would highly recommend all 4 of them. So that's how I'm going to be rating them today. I would give all of them a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy them, and I'm probably going to read them again in the future. And I'm also going to give them a 4 out of 5 on the spicy scale because they were pretty spicy. Now moving on to the love hypothesis. So the trope here is grumpy sunshine and professor student. And honestly, what I liked about this book is that at the beginning of each chapter, you have a hypothesis that sort of tells you what you're in for that specific chapter, which made me even look forward to all the chapters even more. So I did really like that. The one thing I did not like about it, however, was that there was only one truly smutty scene in the whole book. Yes, there were some other slightly spicy scenes in it, but the truly smutty one, it was only one. And because I enjoyed the dynamic of this couple so much, I would personally have preferred if there were more than one scenes in there, but that's just my opinion. So overall, I would probably rate this a 3 out of 5 in general, and on the spicy scale, I think it's a 1 out of 5. It's not a fade to black. There definitely is one explicit scene in there, but that's all, girl. Next we have A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, and the trope here is college romance, good girl, bad boy, and I really liked it because I thought it was gonna be spicy, but I didn't know just how spicy until I started reading the book and I read about the deal that the good girl made with her father. That's when I was like, oh baby, they're gonna crank up the spice in here. And boy, did they. So this would probably be a 4 out of 5 on the spicy scale. And overall, I would say that it's a 4 out of 5 as well. A very good concept, very well written, and another bonus that I actually really like is that the title of the book is explained in the book itself and it makes sense to the story. I just think it's cute. I love it when they do that. So now let's move on to Neon Gods. Now the trope here is forbidden romance, but honestly, you guys, it has a very creative and unique concept. So it's a different take on the Persephone-Hades mythology, which initially did not appeal to me. I thought, okay, so I already know their mythology. Why would I need it retold to me in a different way? And I did judge the book by its cover, so to speak, but boy, was I wrong. Now, the only ding that I'm gonna have to give this book is that I think that the overall storyline could have been a little bit more intricate because as you start reading, you're thrown right into the thick of it. It starts immediately, it's very dramatic, but then in the middle somewhere, it kind of gets pushed to the side. It kind of is put on pause. Now, I'm not saying that during that time nothing in the book happens because while that's on pause, the couple's storyline goes on and it develops really nicely, but that's where I feel like maybe the storyline should have been just a little bit more intricate because it does get solved rather quickly there at the end. So I feel like they did really focus on the couple, but not that much on the storyline per se. But you know what? I can't even fault it because I really did enjoy this read. This was a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Now on the spice level, this was a 5 out of 5 for sure. I really enjoyed it. It was so good. Next up is the Spanish Love Deception, which I heard is gonna get made into a movie, which I'm really excited about. I'm definitely gonna watch it. The trope here is enemies to lovers. Do you see a theme here? Do you see a pattern? Yeah, I'm basic, but I love it. I really did like this read. It felt like sort of watching a romantic comedy while you were reading it. That's the sort of vibe that I got from it, but with a slow burn. Now, I like and appreciate a slow burn read. Some people I know get frustrated with it, but I like it. So for me, this would probably be a 4 out of 5 overall. On the spicy scale though, it really wasn't that spicy. Now, I'm not saying that it was the Love Hypothesis level low, but it certainly wasn't the Twisted series high. So it was maybe around 2 out of 5 chili peppers for me. Next up we have God of Malice. I felt like I needed to include this here. And the trope here is dark college romance, enemies to lovers. What I will say about this book is something that I've recently heard Miss Trixie Mattel say.
You know there's a time and a place for everything? Not for everything. No. Some things there's never a time and a place.
Which is, I'm glad that it's out there for people to enjoy if they want to do so, and I understand how people could like certain parts of it, and however, it wasn't my cup of tea. Now, that's on me though, because before you start reading this book, you have a trigger warning. You do get a fair warning that this is not a story about a morally gray character. It's not a story about a bad boy turning good. It's a story about a very, very morally black, dark character, and to proceed with caution. So I did read that, and I did know that beforehand. But somehow I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? And boy, did I get an answer to that question. So there's a lot of physical and also sexual violence in the book between the two main love interests. And because of that, I found myself not being able to root for them. And also, this wasn't an easy beach read. It was sort of hard to read sometimes, personally for me. Maybe it wouldn't be for you if you're not triggered by any of that, but I didn't like it. It wasn't my cup of tea. Now, with that being said, I would feel bad giving this a 1 out of 5 stars because it's actually written very well. The writing is not the problem. The problem is I couldn't identify with the storyline. So that's why I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. On the spicy level though, I think I would have to give it 5 out of 5. But it's not the same type of 5 out of 5 as Neon Gods, for example. Neon Gods to me was raunchy, dirty, but enjoyable ultimately. This one didn't feel like that to me. I personally couldn't enjoy it. It was very heavy, very dark, and sort of a lot at some points. So ultimately it wasn't for me. but it's definitely a 5 out of 5. Do with that information what you will. Now we're moving on. Last but not least, we have Ugly Love. So I liked this read. The trope here was young adults, friends with benefits, and what I liked about it specifically was the toggling between the past and the present. It made me look forward to what was about to happen in the present even more, and it also sort of made me feel like a detective because I was connecting the dots between the past and the present even before I read about it, which I liked. So overall, this is a 3 out of 5 stars for me. Spiciness, also probably a 3 out of 5 stars. It definitely was spicy, just not as raunchy and dirty as some of the other books I mentioned today, so that's why I gave it a 3. But yeah, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!